This is the Be the Solution podcast, and I am Maria Quattrone, your host. And today I welcome my guest, Rachael Novak. Rachael is a team leader of a $100+ million team north of Seattle, Washington, and a mentor to agents nationally. Rachael's mission is providing an unparalleled home buying and selling experience for their clients and creating unrivaled opportunities for their team. Selling houses and helping clients buy and sell homes north of Seattle, Washington. So welcome today, Rachael. Thank you for joining us on the Be the Solution podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Maria. It's great to see your beautiful face.
You too, darling. Great to see you. Well, let's jump right into it today. It is definitely, we've seen more challenging markets probably a decade plus ago, but now here we are today, and we're up against a lot of different things in the current arena. And so the first thing that comes to my mind is the mindset shift that agents need to make in today's environment. And so what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a multifaceted question and a great one because I think, when we're talking about the mindset of an agent and the amount of effort or action that it takes to get results, I think that over the last 3 years, so I like to call them the unicorn years, right? 2020, 2021, and early 2022. I think people got really acclimated to a totally different style of business. And we had to really pivot and shift and show a lot of resiliency with how we interacted with clients, with how flexible we were able to be. But because of market conditions outside of our control, right? Low inventory, interest rates being very low, it became an incredible feeding frenzy of opportunity. And a lot of people over those couple of years got acclimated to the amount of effort that it took to get results. And as we're pivoting back into what I consider more of a normal market, there's factors out of our control, as always, and we don't control interest rates. We don't necessarily control inventory, right? But the amount of effort and the amount of action that it's taking to get results that are similar to what we've become acclimated to is fivefold, tenfold, maybe even. So I think the mindset that we have to get around is not necessarily the number of calls or the number of outreach or the number of people we connect with, or the number of conversations that we're having. The mindset really, in my opinion, needs to shift to what does it take, and being willing to do simply what it takes and not worrying about how many calls or how many conversations. It's just, I'm going and I'm doing and I'm taking action until I get the results that I'm looking for. And I think that there's a lot of people that are kind of caught behind this narrative that haven't shifted back over into that mindset yet.
So that's a good point. Not how many, it's what do I need to do to get the results that I want? Because if it was before 10 conversations a day or 20 conversations a day, you're not seeing the results. It means you need to have more conversations, more touches.
Exactly.
So, and you had mentioned you think it's not fivefold, maybe tenfold. So, what do you think, based on your experience and your agents and your company, what does it really look like when we put math to it?
Yeah, that's a great question because we literally do put math to it. I'm a big believer in looking at data. I look at historical data, I look at trending data, I look at real-time data. And yesterday in our team sales meeting, I actually pulled up our year over year CSU dashboard. So I don't know if you use CSU for tracking, but our team does. It tracks it tracks outbound calls, conversations, appointments set, met, signed, pending, and closed. And it has this beautiful dashboard that breaks it down between buyers and sellers. And comparing January's 2023's activity, there were just under 1,000 outbound conversations that happened in the month of January on my team. And that resulted in, I believe, 22 or 23 pending contracts in that same month. Okay. This month, January 2024, we had, I think, 5,300, something like that, like over 5,000 outbound conversations that were tracked in CSU, resulting in 9 pending and closed. So the amount of effort and the amount of action that it's taking from the data shows me that it is taking 5 times the amount of effort to get half the results that we got last year.
Whew.
Right.
And so, how do people, whether it's, real estate sales, it's insurance, it's mortgage, because it's all related. How do you get people to want to work?
I I think that's like the time old question of any of us team leaders. Like, how do we get our people to work? The thing is, you can't motivate unmotivated people, right? Like you can't just like infuse your own motivation in them. You can't just say, well, I want you to accomplish this so that they're going to automatically by osmosis also want to accomplish those things. You have to really dial in what it is that they're doing this for. Not the big why, but like, what do you want life to look like this summer? What kind of trips do you want to take your kids on? What kind of freedom are you wanting to have in your schedule around Christmas time? Like, what specifically short term are you looking for in your life? And then how is that tying into the activities that you're taking right now? And so bringing in and simply saying, hey, you told me that you really had a big goal that you wanted to bring your kids to Hawaii at the end of August. Like, how are we doing with getting you, 3 or 4 closings on the board that is going to pay for that trip? And if they're not, then it's okay. Let's rework this from the beginning. Let's work backwards. If we know that it takes 5 to 10 times the amount of effort, then I see you making 99 calls a week. It might be time to step that up. If you're not actively out with clients, if you're not actively doing these activities, and you need to be putting in this effort to get the results, we have to tie it back to their own personal motivation, their own personal wants and needs. And ideally, at the end of the day, obviously, you're just going to have to continue to bring people into the organization, bring people into your world who are motivated and hungry, and then set the standards within your team or set the standards within your brokerage for what a minimum amount of activity looks like to actually be able to have opportunities given to you by the company. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well aware of
Yeah.
that. You look at sales, and you can't really have the amount you want unless you put in the time and effort.
Right.
Yet, so often people think this is about looking at pretty houses and showing pretty houses. And if I think, and I did a video about this the other day, the next person that tells me they want to get into real estate because they like houses, it's a hard no.
That's exactly right. Yeah, like this isn't selling sunset. This is not, selling 3 homes a year and, like living this great lavish life. Like that's fake. That's TV. Let's remember that. Let's put that in perspective. Really creating a life where you're able to, take over financial freedom in your life and you're able to have time freedom doesn't actually mean that you get to roll out of bed late and start your workday around 10 and go to a business lunch that's not actually productively bringing in leads or actually like a lead generation opportunity. Like you're fooling yourself. You're keeping busy, but you're not being productive. And those are two very different things. And the people that are going to be successful through this through 2024, because I feel like people thought it was going to get easy again, right? And I've been preaching this since mid 2022 when the market really kind of shifted and the interest rates started climbing. And I said it's going to take not just twice, but thrice or more of the effort to get the same results. And I think a lot of people kind of bided their time. They got, a lot of people got bit in the butt in 2023 because they hadn't been taking the opportunities and, oh, interest rates and everything's out of my control and I can't do this. Well, they thought it was going to get easy again in 2024, right? Oh, well, interest rates are going to go back down, then it'll go back to the same. And it's not, right? I knew that it was going to get harder, and it is. It's harder to get clients. It's harder to keep clients. It's harder when in our market in the Seattle area, inventory is down 50% year over year. We have 49% less houses for sale right now that came on the market in January than this time last year. That's significant. And
That
that means
is,
that not as many deals are going to close, right? That means that there's not as many opportunities. So if you are not actively taking the time to prospect and to lead generate and to make it clear to your sphere and your past clients and touching base with people that you are still very active in this market, that you're still working in this market, then you're going to miss out on opportunities.
yeah, it does require so much more effort than most are used to. I remember in 2007, 8, 9, 10. or 11, the work that had to be put in.
So much
And
work. Mm-hmm.
it was different. It was a different time. I think that there's a lot that happened though in our world since then, and the work ethic seems to be different.
I agree.
Um,
Well, I think, like you said, I think people look at, their minimum standard of activity as the benchmark, and they feel really accomplished if they meet just the minimum standard of activity. Where the mindset of a truly successful person, a person who understands that this is going to take more and who understands that I'm I'm actually willing to do whatever I need to do, right? That was the attitude in '08, '09, 10, 11 when there's foreclosures and short sales. Like half of us agents were literally, wrapping appliances and wrapping toilet bowls for the foreclosures before it went on the market for REOs. Like there was actual physical work that needed to be done, not just the work of trying to have conversations with people, right? So comparatively, this market is easy compared to the actual physical work that had to be done during that time, and the negotiations with the banks and how long closings took, 90 to 120 days in some cases, right? With some of those deals. So if we look at it comparatively and we tell these stories, comparatively speaking, this is still easy. It just takes more work than people are wanting to put in to get the results that they want. And there's a difference.
there was other things too. Then there was not DocuSign wasn't used.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So people had to
Yeah.
come
The
to the
try
office
copies. Yeah. Yeah.
to sign documents. You had to set an appointment for the
Mhm.
buyer to come in to sign documents or to meet with the seller to get documents signed.
Mhm.
You could send out a PDF at some point, but I remember starting in '04 and '05, there was still triplicate, and then it went to finally the PDF. But
Mhm.
DocuSign was not accepted for many, many years.
Totally. Yeah, no, I remember it well. Like I have leased, or I have sent over and faxed over leases and purchase and sale contracts and LOIs and all sorts of things on the, 3 copy paper, right? The carbon copy paper, and then filed the pink copy, left the client with their yellow copy and kept the white copy for, brokerage compliance. So
Exactly.
it was, yeah, it was totally different time.
The triplicate copies almost killed me
Yeah.
from
Well,
a
and
non
if you don't,
operational.
push, yeah, if you don't push, hard enough and it didn't show, I mean, there was a lot other things to think about, right? And so I think that it's important for people like you, Maria, who has extensive experience in this industry over the last, 19, 20 years, to be telling those kinds of stories to the people who've been only in the industry for 3 to 5 years. Because people who've only been in the industry for that long only have this much of a perspective of what real estate really takes to be successful in. And the people that got in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they know nothing of all this work. They know nothing of all this effort, right? It's our job to continue to educate them and kind of remind them that, hey, it's called work because it is work. And it feels like work because it is work, right? And even still in this industry, putting in maybe 3 to 4 hours of concentrated, focused energy every day, you can still yield a great business. And that's really not much when you compare it to, punching a time clock and working 40 hours a week in an office that you're not working for yourself.
Yes. So I say spend 3 hours a day in your database following up and then calling people that you haven't spoken to. And maybe they were just came in as a lead a couple of years ago and haven't
Mhm.
bought or sold anything is
Mhm.
really like what the minimum requirements are today. And
Yeah.
that wasn't any different than back then. I mean, we were on the phones between 8:30 till noon.
Yep.
And then in the afternoon was listing appointments, buyers appointments, and that's
Mhm.
just how it rolled. Saturdays were
Exactly.
not optional. You worked
Mhm.
on Saturdays, right? You
Yeah.
did it
You're hosting the brokers opens, you're doing the open houses. I mean, it was a 7 day a week job for years.
for
And
years.
yeah. Mhm.
And I
Love
think
it.
it's very difficult for people to really wrap their head around it. And that's what I see one of the biggest struggles for new folks, for people that have entered the industry. We know that the fallout rate is 87% by the year 2. So you're starting off already in a deficit. And I would say now, I beg to differ that number might be higher.
I would think so. I know in our market, we've had almost 50% attrition of agents over the last year. Like looking at who, if we look at the data again, because I like to pull data. I want to know, because sometimes things feel different to us, right? And if it feels different to us, that could just be our perspective on it. Whereas if we're looking at data in the market, or we're looking at historical data with activity output versus outcome, then we can actually gauge where we need to be to move the needle. That's the whole point. That's why we're here. But in 2022, we looked at the data in our county, which is north of Seattle, in Snohomish County. It's a county of almost 1 million people. It's like 950,000 people. And in 2022, there were about 7,000, a little over 7,000, 7,100 something agents who sold at least one house. Okay, in 2022. So over 7,000 agents sold at least one house. In 2023, the exact same area, only 3,500 agents sold at least one house. And the majority of those agents are no longer active in our MLS. They probably didn't want to pay the realtor dues, right? Because they don't have anything coming in. But that's a very telltale sign that like this is an opportunity for the people that are willing to go beyond the minimum standard. The people who are willing to do simply whatever it takes to get the results, as opposed to putting in their 150 calls a day and then calling it a day and heading home. Like, this is the time to gobble up market share. This is the time to put in that extra effort and go the extra mile, because if you continue to gobble up market share, bring people into your organization, or partner with people in your network, you can build something very sustainable for years to come if you're willing to do it in the hard times. And that's what we're in.
So that's interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and then again this morning, because I've not finished it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they talked about, Andy Frisella and Ed Milet, was really...
Did you listen to the one on Ed Milet's podcast?
Yeah.
That they did together? Oh, I love that one. It was a great episode.
So Andy talked about, what entrepreneurship is, and how really 7 to 8% of people can really do it, and how only 1% of those people are actually successful being an entrepreneur. And yet, and this is one of the frustrations that I personally have in our industry, Rachel, is that I believe that agents are lied to from the beginning. They say, you're going to come in, you're going to call your spear, you're going to, do door knocking, well, most people don't want to do that. So focus on your spear, go to events. Nobody has, unless you are like a special human. And I don't mean special in the way of special, we're all special, but I mean in the way of maybe you were in another industry and you do know a lot of people, right?
Sure.
Maybe and it may be an easier segue to do that. Generally, let's talk about generally, because that's what most of this is. Nobody has that many people to call that will be a sustainable business to just call spear and do drop bys and popovers, and it's not possible.
Yeah.
It really doesn't work. And yet it's the same narrative is talked about over and over again. And I don't believe it. And it's frustrating because people think, and they spin their wheels. And then agents are going broke because this is what they've been fed.
Right.
When really you need to talk to people you don't know. Because the people even that do know you, when you start, they didn't use me. They were like,
right.
They're not.
Right. They don't take you seriously yet.
All my business came from people I don't know. And I still get business from people I don't know.
Yes.
Secure
exactly right.
opportunities.
Exactly.
Right. So it really is about, calling, because there's more people, even though I know a lot of people, there's still more people that I don't know than I do. And that do need our services. Right. Because here's what's interesting in our industry. We don't have anything to sell.
Right.
The houses, we don't own the house.
Yeah. We have no inventory.
We have no inventory. So
Yep.
the only thing that we have every day is the work that we
Us.
do to educate, inform, and inspire
Mhm.
or aspire, whichever, other people, whether
Yeah.
that's the real estate agent, the consumer, the investor, and how we are the solution for whatever issue they have, whether they're trying to buy, sell, invest, or the disposition of the asset. If it's a bank or if it's, a large scale investor, you can work with the buy and flip or the new construction, but we don't have anything
Mhm.
except for who we are and what we provide.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly right.
And
And I
so,
think that's why I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's why in the personal development space, that's why they've become such an overlapping industry, right? Real estate with personal development and personal branding. Because what we've found out over the years is there is no such thing as a neighborhood expert anymore. There's no such thing as, the one realtor in this city who like owns the city. Like there is really not that anymore. People are savvy. People have access to information. People want to simply work with somebody they like, know, and trust. And so the more that you can develop as a person and put yourself out there, like I know you do, doing videos, putting posts out, reaching out to people, going to events to make connections and network, like the more people know you and get to like you and who you are, the more people will simply want to do business with you. And so in my opinion, I think you're spot on that agents are set up for failure, that they're sold this lie that this is easy. And HGTV has done nothing but a disservice to our industry because of how easy it makes it look, in a 30-second episode or a 30-minute episode, right? But we are getting back, in my opinion, to the time, a different time. It's different with digital and AI and all this stuff. We're getting back to a time that this is number one about relationships. It's about who you are. It's about who you can connect with. It's about how you can connect with people and bringing more and more people that you don't know into your world for more opportunities for business and to help them because we do have a service to bring to them, right? We have knowledge and we have experience and we have drive, we have organization, like we have attributes in our business to bring to them, but you're right, we don't have anything we're selling them. They just have to trust that what we do is help facilitate and consult with them through this process. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes to how do we get that word out there, right? So in educating and informing in videos, I think that videos are underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that first of all, it doesn't cost well, it cost me a little bit because I use StreamYard and
Sure.
I have Buzzsprout and I have things, I have tools that I do spend my butt. If you didn't, you could just take your cell phone, hold it up, Facebook Live, put it on
Yep.
a thing, or you can hold it and just
Yep.
walk and get your message out there. It's free.
Exactly. Exactly.
And there are a lot of tools that you can use, agents can use to build that personal brand. But I do think in today's environment that it's really critical to have one,
Mm-hmm.
more so than ever. And if you're working with a team and you're on a team, you're very lucky because
Yeah.
you have opportunities to call in the team leaders database that they're going to give you,
Yep.
and you're set up for success without very little out of your pocket.
Yes.
And so when I entered the industry just almost 20 years ago, almost 20 years, it's coming up
Yeah.
in a couple weeks, that I thought it was the stupidest industry I've ever seen in my life, the way it was set up. Because how can I be the salesperson, the rainmaker, the appointment setter, the salesperson, the showing person, the person to put it in the MLS, the marketing person, the
The
closer,
paperwork. Yep.
contract to close, the administrator, the
Mm-hmm.
financials. It's impossible. It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to sell real estate at a high level and be able to successfully do all those things well.
Right.
And I'm going to repeat
Spot
that.
on.
Do all those things well. Now, I'm
Spot
not
on.
saying that people can't do it or I can't do it. I choose not to because I know what I do well, right? So in your case, you're leading the team, you're in a leadership role, you're directing and you're recruiting and you're talking to agents, and but you're probably not sitting there putting everything in the MLS, right? There's people for that.
I believe, Maria, I think you're spot on. And I think that this year, I think 2024 will be the year that, like the year of a team, like the year that agents go, okay, I thought my job was just to talk to people and just sell houses. And now I'm having to worry about how do I market myself and how do I organize my CRM and how do I get new clients and how do I lead generate and how do I pay for Zillow and how do I do all these things to save money because closings are more scarce. Whereas the way that we look at our team is we are an operating system. We have in-house transaction coordination, contract to close. We have in-house listing coordination from signed listing to active. We have in-house operations support to make sure that your flyers and your door knocking flyers and your business cards and all these things have the right branding and your name. And like there's oversight for all of these things so that an agent just has to show up, plug in to this iOS, this operating system, and do like stay in their lane, lead generate, fulfill clients, and everything else is supported. And I think that people will start seeing the benefit of that, right? Because people went to discount brokerages and people went to, all sorts of different opportunities in regards to brokerage to save money because business was so easy. And now what I'm seeing is this huge tidal wave of people like, I didn't realize the support I wasn't getting. I didn't realize the opportunities that I don't have access to and I don't even know how to get. Like they're realizing that maybe they're not the entrepreneur that they thought that they were, but they are phenomenal intrapreneur. Somebody who can come in and
Exactly.
utilize the systems that are built and utilize an operating system that a team leader runs and has for them. And now they see the value exchange of, so I'm going to get the support and I'm going to get opportunities and leads and I'm going to do my best to fulfill these and we're both going to get paid. And that's a win.
That's exactly what Andy Frisella and Mylette talked about was the entrepreneur and having more entrepreneurs in your organization,
Yeah.
people that can really understand the benefit of what's brought to the table.
Yes.
Because it's hard.
It's hard. It's hard
And
for us as team leaders.
And we're the last one that gets paid.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
some of our agents, probably, make more than we do for the amount of time, effort, and money that we invest.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Some of the biggest ahas that I've seen over the last couple of months, Maria, was, meeting with agents. I'll ask them, okay, what's been your best year? And I met with a gentleman the other day who was wonderful. He might actually be partnering with us, but he sold 18 houses, which is respectable. Like that's a great year, especially in our price point here north of Seattle. And so, I said, okay, great, like awesome. Like what was your income like that year? And he said, his GCI. And I said, okay, great. What kind of transaction fees did you pay the brokerage? And how much did you pay for your CRM? And how much did you pay to the Zillow off those referral leads? And we started calculating all of the outgoing money that he spent to generate that business and realized that he netted about 70% of what he thought he did. Right. And then I was able to turn around and say, so on our team, if you were to sell that many houses, this is exactly what your net income would look like. No other expenses, net to you. And it was more. And like to watch his face go, oh my goodness. You mean I wouldn't have to worry about marketing. I wouldn't have to worry about dealing with my Zillow rep. I wouldn't have to worry about like what CRM we use and organizing my data. Like there's things that as a team leader, we take care of these systems in order to provide this operating system for somebody to just come plug into. But they have to see that value. And most people have to go through that and realize maybe I don't know everything that I thought I knew about entrepreneurship and running the business. And most people just care about the money they make, right? Most people are just like, I just want to net X amount, live a good life. And that's great. It's those of us crazy people like you and I, Maria, who are like, no, 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 I want to also struggle. And I also want to worry about my P&L every month, right? It's those of us crazy people that do this, but we provide a platform to help people live really big lives. Like that's why we're here.
Exactly. Exactly why we're here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you've been at this a long time, Rachel. So you've seen you've seen a lot. One of the things I always say is progress, not perfection. As long as you're making progress every day, you keep moving forward, right? And
100%.
start every day at zero. So that was the
Yes.
mindset that I was taught back in the Mike Ferry days,
Oh yeah.
2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Start every day at zero. Start every day, no money in the bank, no listings, no
Hmm.
closings. What are you going to do today?
Hmm.
And if you could take that perspective and really, really understand what that means, and then run, run. And I'm
Yes.
not saying like, I hate that word hustle. Oh, hustle. And, no, just run as fast as you can that day.
Yeah.
Help as many people as you can that day.
Hmm.
And just focus on today and forget
Hmm.
about what you want to do. Just keep on, I guess, keep on trucking.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the benefit of having experienced so much failure, right? I mean, Mike and I have experienced a lot of failure in our careers, in our career together. In 2008, Mike was a builder and I worked on the commercial side and the TC side in a different brokerage. But I mean, we got married the same year that we went bankrupt. We lost everything, right? Literally everything. The only thing I kept was the ring on my finger. And looking back, that that was one of the biggest gifts that we could have ever been given in this industry or in any industry because it's an inherent need to start every day at zero. Like we don't, no matter how much money we have or stockpile or properties we buy or things that we have, we know and have experienced that you can lose it all like that. And so waking up like you're broke, waking up like this is the day that I'm going to move the needle forward. This is the day that I'm going to make a difference in my business. This is the day that I'm going to find those buyers and sellers that are going to want to work with me. And I'm going to continue to fill my pipeline full of people who meet, my core values and who I want to work with. And they're coachable and motivated and ambitious people. Like that's how it was a huge gift. And I think if people haven't experienced a massive loss, right? If they've not been an entrepreneur, or they haven't had the kind of struggles that you and I have had and been through in the markets that we've seen and in the fallout that we've witnessed, they may not have that perspective. So I think these stories and these conversations like you and I are having are critical for people to be able to say, holy smokes, like, okay, it's not as hard as I'm thinking it is, right? I'm making it feel a lot harder in my head than it actually is. This is just about effort. This is just about output. There are going to be seasons in our lives that we have to work 70 or 80 hours a week. And then there's going to be fun seasons that we can work 25 or 30. And both are have their place and there's building seasons and then there's enjoyment seasons, right? And I think we're in a building season and most people are still trying to ride a wave of enjoyment and it's not working for them.
We're in what they call, Tony Robbins will call winter, not
Yes.
figuratively speaking of winter, even though it is winter here, but winter in the terms of business. And
Yeah.
what do you do in the winter? You hunker down, you focus, you just keep going,
Hmm.
keep doing. You come up for air here and there, but it's a time when winter's cold, right? It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's some days it's bitter cold, and then figuratively speaking,
Hmm.
you have those days, and you know that business is a seasons. There's seasons of it, and some of it is in our control, some of it isn't. But in the more challenging the market is, the more opportunity there is for people that really put the time and effort into it and really they're skilled at a very high level.
100%.
And it's not about opening a door somebody for a house. I send people over houses all the time that work in my company to open doors. I may never step into that property. I don't have to step into that property
Hmm.
because I know exactly what it is our team does to get it done, and displaying that confidence and the only way to get that confidence is to do the work. And the
Right.
more that you say in commitment, so you commit to do X, Y, and Z. So I committed to do a video live stream every single day, since June 18th. So I have not missed one.
Good
Even
for
though,
you. That's incredible.
yeah, one of them in December, because I was out at a Christmas party, I did at 11:47 p.m.
PM?
Yeah, I went live.
Oh
Just
my
came home
goodness.
from some big party.
Hmm.
But I said to my husband, "Oh my God, on the way home, I didn't do the video." I'm like, "We got to be home before midnight." He's like, "We'll be
Hmm.
there. We'll be there." I get home, I open it up. I got to type up my little thing on StreamYard,
Hmm.
hit the buttons. I'm like, I'm here. But
Good for
the
you.
the thank you, Rachel. The why I wanted to bring that up is, see, keeping the commitment, whatever it is. Don't eat this, don't drink this, eat that, take the vitamin, whatever, walk, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Me, I don't eat sugar. On the holiday, I did eat some sugar, but it's almost 2 years where I gave up eating sugar. I never ate a lot, but I found out that it didn't work for me. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
sidebar. Keeping a commitment keeps you more motivated to keep the commitment.
Yeah.
I couldn't think about a day not going by and me not doing a video. That
Hmm.
just, even in sickness, when I was sick, and even when a lot of things were happening, that, perspective, bring you to your knees, right? Humble you. That's another perspective. You learn a lot. And it's interesting because you're like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Happen for you. It actually happens for you.
Yeah.
There's a lesson that needed to be learned.
100%.
That learn whatever the lesson is that's there, right? So that's
Yes.
part of like the acceptance, not trying to control, but looking at it and saying, what's the learning here?
Yeah.
Gives so
Exactly.
much perspective. And I think that's something that is lacked.
Yeah,
Once you,
I think that's something that Hormozy talks about. I don't know if you follow Alex and Layla Hormozy. I had the privilege of meeting them at our real brokerage conference in
oh
October,
wow,
which is really, really fun. But his one of his biggest mantras is like confidence isn't built by knowing all of the things. Confidence is built by doing the things, because by doing the things, you become someone who does the things, right? Exactly to your point. Like the
exactly.
more you commit to it, the more you want to stay committed to it because you start seeing results, and not at first. But this game of entrepreneurship or even intrapreneurship in our setting, right, in a team setting, is not who necessarily has wins all the time, but the spoils are going to go to the people that have the resilience, that have the staying power, that have the no quit, that have the whatever it takes mentality.
The
Because those
discipline.
people, yeah, because those are the people that are stacking the wins, doing the things, building the confidence, and are becoming the people who continue to do the things. Like it's that simple.
It's
Not
that
easy, but
simple.
that's simple. Yeah.
Stack the wings, keep on going, use
Hmm.
momentum as your guide. When do you go and take another listing after you just took one?
Yeah.
Right? When do you go to make another call when you just had a great call? Make another one. Make another one.
Yes.
Do one more.
Yes. Yes.
Do one more
I love
rep.
that.
Do one
Yep.
more set. Do one more mile. The Power of One More. That was a great book too.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Ed's
follow
such
those
a, oh
people.
yeah, phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I
Love it.
love him.
Me too.
It's great stuff. It's great stuff. So before we end for our podcast today, Rachel, what is something that you would love to share with everyone? If it's something that you wish you knew back when that
Mm,
would have changed your perspective.
that's a great question. My perspective on real estate specifically.
Yeah.
I think I can't say that I would change much if I'm totally honest. From like 2006 and there, we learned a lot of lessons for sure. But this time around, like building a team, I think, okay, there is one thing. So one thing that I wish that I would have been told or would have actually listened to was that there is a right way and a wrong way to bring people in and let people go of your life, whether that's in business or personal. And I made the mistake early on in our team building arena to not treat people as good as I really should have in their exit. And as people would leave, because people are going to ebb and flow, right? They're going to ebb and flow from your network and from your team and from your life, just because they have seasons in their life and they have things going on and moves and families and things that change. And I wish that I had either listened to the advice that was given or been told a little more explicitly. Show class, show grace, always leave on a positive note, you know. I wasn't mean, I wasn't like, expulsive, but I was definitely, I got emotional, I think. And that maybe that was age, but it was mostly just inexperience. And knowing what I know now, when people say, "Oh, I'm moving on," or "I have a different season," I just bless them, and it's like, "Hey, I totally get it. You need to do what you've got to do." And like, I'm sorry that this wasn't a fit any longer, but if anything ever changes, like, let me know. So it's become a different mindset for me to understand that people's responses and people's actions really typically have nothing to do with us, and they have everything to do with them. I think that would
Yeah,
probably be one thing.
that's a good one. And that's a tough one for sure.
Hmm.
And guilty in my own way. It's it's something that, yeah, over time you learn. If you didn't know, I didn't know.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's, mistakes we make. And
100%.
then we
Yeah.
only can learn from them. Hopefully we all learn from them. So,
Exactly. Yeah. One other quick one I think would be the hiring on potential. I was a chronic hiring on potential, advocate where I see so much potential in them. And I had the ego to believe that I could turn them into a great agent, or I could teach them all the things that I know, and they would do all the exact same things and become, a whatever, $25 million a year agent like I am. Well, no, right? I have to understand that people are going to do what they want to do, and they're going to commit to what they feel committed to. And the potential that they have is theirs to bring out and not mine. I just provide the blueprint, I provide the systems, I provide the accountability, but they take the action.
it's
Hiring on
another
potential.
really good one.
Yeah.
I call that I want it more for you than you do. And then I'm disappointed because I put my stuff on you. Shame on me.
100%. 100%. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, this was great. It
I
was
know, this was
great
awesome. This is so
to,
fun catching up with you.
yeah, it was great to explore this with you today, Rachel, on Be the Social podcast. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, and seeing your beautiful smile and your beautiful face. So God
You as well.
bless, and
Thank you.
onward, onward and upward.